Good morning, everyone. Disrespect is something we all encounter at some point in our lives, whether at work, school, or even among friends and family. How we choose to respond can define our relationships and our self-respect. Today, I want to share 5 powerful ways to handle disrespect with confidence and grace. One of the most important things to remember when dealing with disrespect is to stay calm and composed. It's natural to feel anger, frustration, or even hurt when someone disrespects you, but reacting impulsively can often make the situation worse. When emotions take over, we may say or do things we later regret, escalating the conflict instead of resolving it. Staying calm doesn't mean you are ignoring or accepting the disrespect. It means you are choosing to respond thoughtfully rather than react emotionally. Take a deep breath, count to 10 if needed, and give yourself a moment to process what just happened. By doing this, you avoid giving the other person the power to control your emotions. Another effective way to remain composed is to practice self-awareness. Pay attention to how your body reacts in tense situations. Does your heart race? Do your hands shake? Recognizing these signs allows you to take control before you react. Remind yourself that your response should reflect who you are, not the negativity you are facing. Additionally, maintaining a calm demeanor can often change the tone of the entire conversation. When the other person sees that their disrespect hasn't rattled you, they may reconsider their approach. In many cases, people expect an angry reaction, and when they don't get it, they lose the satisfaction of provoking you. This can sometimes lead them to back down or even correct their behavior. A practical way to keep your composure is to focus on your breathing and posture. Keep your shoulders relaxed, maintain eye contact, and speak in a steady, firm tone. This nonverbal communication signals confidence and self-respect, which can often command more respect from others. Another key aspect of staying calm is choosing your words wisely. Instead of reacting with sarcasm, insults, or aggression, respond with a composed and measured statement. For example, if someone speaks to you in a rude tone, instead of snapping back, you could say, "I'd appreciate it if you spoke to me respectfully." This response not only asserts your boundaries, but also maintains your dignity. Finally, practicing mindfulness and emotional control in everyday life can help you develop a natural ability to remain calm in difficult situations. Techniques like meditation, journaling, or even exercising can help you build emotional resilience, making it easier to handle disrespect when it arises. By mastering the ability to stay calm and composed, you demonstrate strength, self-discipline, and confidence. You send a clear message that you will not be easily shaken by negativity. And over time, people will come to respect your unwavering composure. Setting clear boundaries is essential when dealing with disrespect. People will often treat you the way you allow them to. So if you don't make it clear that certain behaviors are unacceptable, they may continue to push those limits. Establishing boundaries is not about being rude or aggressive. It's about standing up for yourself in a firm yet respectful way. The first step in setting boundaries is recognizing what makes you uncomfortable or disrespected. Disrespect comes in many forms. It can be verbal, such as someone speaking to you in a condescending manner; emotional, like someone constantly dismissing your feelings; or even physical, such as someone invading your personal space. Identifying these behaviors helps you become aware of when a boundary needs to be set. Once you've identified the disrespectful behavior, the next step is to communicate your boundary clearly. This means using direct language that leaves no room for confusion. For example, if someone repeatedly interrupts you when you're speaking, you can say, "I would appreciate it if you let me finish before responding." If a coworker makes sarcastic or belittling comments, you can respond with, "I don't find that kind of humor respectful. Please speak to me professionally." The key is to be firm and assertive, not aggressive or confrontational. It's also important to reinforce your boundaries consistently. If you allow someone to cross a boundary once without addressing it, they may assume it's acceptable and continue doing it. If, for example, a friend keeps making jokes at your expense and you laugh it off instead of addressing it, they may not realize that it bothers you. Instead, calmly but firmly tell them that their jokes make you uncomfortable. By doing this, you are teaching others how you expect to be treated. Nonverbal communication also plays a role in setting boundaries. Your body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice all send messages about how seriously you take your boundaries. If you express discomfort with a weak or hesitant voice, people may not take you seriously. On the other hand, maintaining eye contact, using a steady tone, and standing with confidence will reinforce your message. Another crucial aspect of boundary setting is not feeling guilty for doing it. Many people, especially those who are naturally kind or empathetic, struggle with setting boundaries because they don't want to upset others. However, having boundaries is a sign of self-respect, not selfishness. You are not responsible for how others feel about your boundaries. You are only responsible for making sure you uphold them. In some cases, people may test your boundaries to see if you will stand by them. They might say things like, "Oh, come on, don't be so sensitive," or "I was just joking." When this happens, don't back down. Calmly restate your boundary and make it clear that it's non-negotiable. Over time, people will learn that you are serious about respecting yourself, and they will adjust their behavior accordingly. Lastly, setting boundaries isn't just about responding to disrespect, it's also about preventing it. When you establish a standard for how you expect to be treated, people are less likely to test those limits. Whether in personal relationships, the workplace, or social interactions, having strong boundaries creates an environment where respect is the norm, not the exception. One of the most effective ways to handle disrespect is to remind yourself not to take it personally. When someone is rude, dismissive, or insulting, it's easy to internalize their words and actions, allowing them to affect your emotions and self-worth. However, in many cases, disrespectful behavior has more to do with the other person than with you. People often project their frustrations, insecurities, or unresolved issues onto others, and if you take their behavior personally, you give them unnecessary power over your emotions. Understanding this concept requires a shift in perspective. Instead of immediately feeling hurt or offended when someone disrespects you, pause and ask yourself, is this really about me, or is this about them? More often than not, people act out due to their own struggles. Perhaps they're having a bad day dealing with personal problems or feeling insecure about themselves. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but recognizing the root of their actions can help you detach emotionally from their negativity. A practical example of this is when someone lashes out at you over something small. Imagine a coworker snapping at you for asking a simple question. Instead of feeling insulted, consider that they may be overwhelmed with stress or dealing with personal challenges. If you react emotionally, the situation may escalate, but if you choose to stay neutral and not take it personally, you maintain control over your response. Another key aspect of not taking things personally is developing emotional resilience. This means strengthening your ability to remain unaffected by others' negative words or actions. When you have a strong sense of self-worth, you become less vulnerable to the opinions of others. Remind yourself of who you are and what you stand for. Just because someone treats you poorly does not mean you deserve it, nor does it define your value. One way to build emotional resilience is through self-affirmation. When faced with disrespect, silently affirm your confidence and self-respect. Tell yourself, I am not defined by their words. I choose how I feel, and I will not let negativity affect my peace. This internal dialogue helps create a mental shield against external negativity. Additionally, adopting a mindset of empathy rather than defensiveness can be powerful. Instead of reacting with anger or hurt, try to see the situation from a broader perspective. This doesn't mean you should tolerate disrespect, but understanding that people's actions are often driven by their own struggles can help you remain detached from their negativity. It's also important to avoid overanalyzing situations. Sometimes we tend to replay negative interactions in our minds, wondering if we did something wrong or if the other person truly meant to be disrespectful. This habit can be mentally exhausting and unnecessary. Instead of dwelling on the disrespectful behavior, acknowledge it, decide how you want to respond, and then move forward. Furthermore, social and cultural factors play a role in how people communicate. What may seem disrespectful to you might be normal behavior for someone else based on their upbringing or environment. Understanding that people come from different backgrounds can help you avoid personalizing every interaction. Lastly, not taking things personally allows you to maintain emotional control. The moment you let someone's words or actions dictate your emotions, you give them power over you. But when you choose to remain unaffected, you retain control over your peace of mind. Disrespect is inevitable in life, but how you respond to it determines whether it has any real impact on you. Ignoring disrespect can sometimes make things worse, as it may send the message that you are okay with being treated poorly. While some situations might not be worth engaging in, when the behavior is repetitive or affects your well-being, it is essential to address it directly. However, the way you confront the issue matters. Responding assertively rather than aggressively or passively ensures that your message is heard while maintaining your dignity and composure. Being assertive means standing up for yourself in a firm but respectful way. It involves expressing your thoughts and feelings clearly without being aggressive or confrontational. The goal is not to attack the other person, but to make it clear that their behavior is not acceptable. For example, instead of saying, "You're always so rude to me," which may provoke defensiveness, you can say, "I feel disrespected when you interrupt me while I'm speaking. I'd appreciate it if you let me finish my thoughts before responding." This type of communication focuses on the behavior rather than attacking the person, making it more likely that the other party will listen and adjust their actions. One of the most effective ways to address disrespect assertively is by using I statements. These statements focus on your feelings and experiences rather than accusing the other person, which helps reduce defensiveness. For example, instead of saying, "You never listen to me," try, "I feel unheard when I speak and my input is ignored." Instead of saying, "You're always making sarcastic comments," try, "I feel uncomfortable when sarcastic remarks are directed at me." This approach keeps the conversation constructive and encourages the other person to reflect on their behavior rather than feeling attacked. Another important aspect of addressing disrespect is choosing the right time and place to speak up. If the person is already agitated, or if you're in a public setting, confronting them immediately might escalate the situation. If possible, address the issue in a private setting where both of you can have a calm and open discussion. This is especially important in professional environments where addressing disrespect publicly might lead to unnecessary conflict. Your tone and body language also play a crucial role in assertive communication. Even if your words are calm, an aggressive tone or closed-off body language, such as crossing your arms or rolling your eyes, can make the conversation tense. Instead, maintain eye contact, keep your posture relaxed but confident, and speak in a steady tone. This signals that you are serious about the issue but are not looking for an argument. In some cases, the person may try to dismiss your feelings or make excuses for their behavior. They might say things like, "You're being too sensitive," or "I was just joking." If this happens, stand your ground. You can calmly reply, "Regardless of your intention, this is how your words made me feel, and I would appreciate more respect in our interactions." This response makes it clear that your feelings are valid and that you are not willing to accept excuses for disrespect. Additionally, when addressing disrespect, it's helpful to offer a solution or alternative behavior that would make the interaction more positive. For example, if a colleague frequently interrupts you during meetings, you could say, "I'd appreciate it if we could take turns speaking so that everyone's input is valued." This not only points out the issue, but also provides a way to resolve it, making it more likely that the other person will be receptive. It's important to note that being assertive does not guarantee an immediate positive response. Some people may still react defensively, refuse to acknowledge their behavior, or even continue their disrespectful actions. In such cases, you may need to reinforce your boundary by repeating your stance, or if necessary, escalating the issue to a higher authority, such as a manager or HR representative in a workplace setting. Finally, addressing disrespect assertively is a skill that requires practice. If you are not used to speaking up for yourself, it may feel uncomfortable at first. However, the more you do it, the more natural it will become. Over time, people will begin to understand that you expect to be treated with respect, and they will be less likely to cross your boundaries. Not every situation requires a response. Sometimes the best way to handle disrespect is to simply walk away. While it's important to stand up for yourself and your set boundaries, there are times when engaging with a disrespectful person will only drain your energy and escalate the situation further. Walking away is not a sign of weakness, it is an act of self-respect and emotional maturity. One of the first things to consider when deciding whether to walk away is the nature of the disrespect. If someone is repeatedly trying to provoke you, insult you, or get a reaction out of you, responding may only give them the satisfaction they're looking for. In cases like these, ignoring them and refusing to engage takes away their power. Many people who are disrespectful thrive on conflict and enjoy making others upset. By not giving them that reaction, you show that their words or actions have no control over you. Another situation where walking away is necessary is when the person refuses to listen or change their behavior. If you have already addressed the issue assertively and they continue to be rude, dismissive, or aggressive, there is no point in continuing the conversation. At that moment, the best thing you can do for yourself is remove yourself from the situation. Some people are not worth your time or energy, and staying engaged with them will only cause frustration and stress. Walking away can also be a form of self-preservation. Being around constant negativity and disrespect can take a toll on your mental and emotional well-being. If you are in a toxic work environment, an unhealthy relationship, or a social group where you are consistently disrespected, it may be time to walk away for good. Surrounding yourself with people who uplift and respect you is crucial for your happiness and self-worth. No one deserves to stay in an environment where they are constantly belittled or undervalued. It's also important to recognize that some battles are not worth fighting. There will be moments when engaging in an argument or trying to prove your point will not lead to a resolution. If someone is being intentionally rude or is not open to understanding your perspective, trying to make them see your point of view is often a waste of time. Instead of exhausting yourself trying to change someone who doesn't want to change, walking away allows you to conserve your energy for more meaningful interactions. Another key reason to walk away is to maintain control over your emotions. Disrespect can trigger anger, frustration, or even sadness, and if you allow yourself to be consumed by those emotions, you might say or do something you regret. When you recognize that you are becoming too emotionally involved in a negative situation, stepping away can help you regain clarity and composure. This is especially important in professional settings, where reacting emotionally to disrespect can damage your reputation or relationships with colleagues. In some cases, walking away does not mean avoiding the issue entirely. It means choosing the right time and place to address it. If someone is being openly disrespectful in a heated moment, walking away allows you to process the situation calmly before deciding how to handle it later. It also sends a clear message that you will not engage in disrespectful exchanges. When you do choose to revisit the issue, you can do so with a clear mind and a strategic approach. Walking away also demonstrates self-confidence and self-respect. People who are insecure often feel the need to fight every battle and prove themselves to everyone. However, those who are truly confident understand that their worth is not determined by how others treat them. When you walk away from a disrespectful situation, you show that you value yourself enough and not to engage with negativity. You communicate that you do not need validation from people who refuse to treat you with dignity. At times, walking away may mean making difficult decisions, such as ending a long-term friendship, cutting ties with a toxic family member, or leaving a job where you are not valued. These choices are not easy, but they are sometimes necessary for your overall well-being. While it may be painful in the short term, removing yourself from a harmful situation will ultimately lead to greater peace and happiness in the long run. Lastly, it's important to remember that walking away is about prioritizing yourself. You do not owe anyone your time, energy, or attention if they consistently disrespect you. Life is too short to waste on people who do not appreciate or value you. Instead, focus on building relationships with those who treat you with kindness and respect. When faced with disrespect, the natural instinct for many people is to respond with anger. This reaction is understandable. No one likes to be treated poorly, and anger often feels like a way to reclaim power and defend oneself. However, in most cases, responding with anger only makes the situation worse. Instead of resolving the issue, it leads to a heated exchange that can escalate into a full-blown conflict, making it even harder to find a productive resolution. One of the primary reasons anger escalates the situation is that it triggers a defensive response from the other person. When people feel attacked, whether through raised voices, aggressive body language, or harsh words, they often react by becoming even more defensive or combative. This turns the interaction into a battle of egos where neither party is truly listening or trying to understand the other. The original issue gets lost in the argument, and both sides become more focused on winning rather than finding a solution. Additionally, anger can cause a loss of control over words and actions. When emotions take over, people are more likely to say things they don't mean or act in ways they later regret. A moment of unchecked anger can lead to insults, accusations, or aggressive behavior that damages relationships, sometimes irreparably. What may have started as a minor act of disrespect can quickly spiral into a serious confrontation simply because anger took control of the response. Another important factor to consider is that anger often reinforces the other person's negative behavior. If someone is being disrespectful on purpose, they might be trying to provoke a reaction from you. This is especially common with people who enjoy conflict, manipulation, or power struggles. When you respond with anger, you give them exactly what they want, proof that they have the ability to upset you. This can encourage them to continue their disrespectful behavior, knowing that it gets a reaction. In contrast, if you remain calm and composed, they lose the satisfaction of provoking you, which can discourage further disrespect. Furthermore, responding with anger can damage your credibility and reputation. In professional settings, for example, losing your temper can make you appear unprofessional, irrational, or difficult to work with. Even if you are in the right, an emotional outburst can overshadow the validity of your concerns. People may focus more on your reaction than on the disrespectful behavior that triggered it, leading them to see you as the problem rather than the victim. This is why maintaining composure, even in the face of blatant disrespect, is crucial for preserving your integrity and influence. Another negative consequence of responding with anger is that it closes the door to effective communication. When tempers flare, people stop listening to each other. Instead of engaging in a constructive conversation where both parties express their perspectives, the interaction turns into an argument where neither side is open to understanding. This makes it much harder to reach a resolution as both people become more focused on defending themselves rather than finding common ground. Additionally, anger can intensify the emotional impact of the situation on you. While expressing anger might feel satisfying in the moment, it often leaves you feeling worse afterward. Unchecked anger can increase stress, raise your heart rate, and cause lingering frustration that affects your mood and well-being long after the conflict has ended. Instead of feeling empowered, you might feel drained, guilty, or regretful about how you handled the situation. In contrast, responding with calmness allows you to walk away feeling in control and at peace, knowing that you did not let someone else's disrespect dictate your emotions. In some cases, anger can also lead to unintended consequences. In heated moments, people sometimes make threats, issue ultimatums, or take actions they later regret, such as quitting a job impulsively, ending a relationship on bad terms, or retaliating in ways that have long-term repercussions. While standing up for yourself is important, it is equally important to do so in a way that does not create further problems for you in the future. Responding with a level head ensures that your actions are intentional and well thought out, rather than driven by temporary emotions. Lastly, handling disrespect without anger demonstrates emotional intelligence and self-discipline. People who can remain composed in difficult situations are often seen as strong, confident, and in control of themselves. This earns them more respect in the long run as others recognize their ability to handle conflicts maturely. Instead of letting their emotions control them, they use logic, patience, and assertiveness to address the issue in a way that is effective and constructive. One of the most fundamental truths about human relationships is that people will often treat you based on the boundaries set and the behavior you accept. If you allow others to be disrespectful without consequences, they will continue to act that way because they see no reason to change. On the other hand, when you establish firm boundaries and communicate that you expect to be treated with respect, people are more likely to adjust their behavior accordingly. Understanding this principle requires recognizing the role you play in shaping how others treat you. While you cannot control other people's actions, you can control what you tolerate. If someone continuously speaks to you in a dismissive or rude tone and you never call it out, they may assume that their behavior is acceptable. Over time, this pattern can become ingrained, making it even harder to change the dynamic. However, if you assertively address the issue from the start, you set a clear expectation that disrespect will not be ignored or tolerated. One common mistake people make is hoping that disrespectful individuals will change on their own. They believe that if they are patient, understanding, or accommodating enough, the other person will eventually start treating them better. Unfortunately, this is rarely the case. In many situations, when you do not stand up for yourself, people interpret your silence as permission to continue their behavior. This is why it is crucial to set boundaries early and reinforce them consistently. Setting boundaries does not mean being rude or aggressive. It means calmly and assertively communicating what is and isn't acceptable in your interactions. For example, if a friend constantly interrupts you while you are speaking, you can say, "I value our conversations, but I feel unheard when I am constantly interrupted. I'd appreciate it if we could both take turns speaking." This statement is respectful but firm, making it clear that you expect to be listened to. Another important aspect of this principle is understanding that self-respect teaches others how to respect you. People often take cues from how you treat yourself. If you consistently downplay your own needs, over-apologize, or allow yourself to be taken for granted, others will mirror that behavior. However, when you demonstrate self-respect by valuing your time, speaking up for yourself, and refusing to accept poor treatment, you send a strong message that you expect to be treated with dignity. For instance, in a workplace setting, if you allow your colleagues or boss to pile extra work on you without pushback, they will continue to do so because they see you as someone who will never say no. But if you confidently state, "I'm happy to help when I can, but my current workload is already full," you establish a boundary that prevents others from taking advantage of you. The same applies in personal relationships. If a partner or friend frequently cancels plans at the last minute, fails to consider your feelings, or treats you inconsiderately, and you accept it without speaking up, they will assume their behavior is okay. But if you say, "I understand things come up, but I feel unimportant when our plans are repeatedly canceled. I need to know that my time is valued," you make it clear that you will not tolerate being disregarded. It is also important to recognize that changing how people treat you may require making difficult decisions. If someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries despite your efforts to address it, you may need to distance yourself from that person or even cut them out of your life entirely. This can be challenging, especially if the person is a longtime friend, family member, or someone you care about. However, prioritizing your self-respect and well-being is more important than maintaining a relationship where you are not valued. In some cases, people may push back when you start asserting yourself. They might accuse you of being overly sensitive, selfish, or difficult. This is especially common when they have been accustomed to treating you a certain way without consequences. However, standing your ground is crucial. When you reinforce your boundaries consistently, over time, people will either learn to respect you or remove themselves from your life. Either outcome is beneficial for your well-being. Another crucial aspect of ensuring that people treat you well is leading by example. Just as you expect respect from others, you should also practice treating others with the same level of dignity and consideration. If you want to be heard, listen to others. If you want to be valued, show appreciation for those around you. When you set a standard of respect in your interactions, it creates an environment where mutual respect becomes the norm. Ultimately, people will treat you the way you allow them to because you set the precedent for how you expect to be treated. By recognizing your own worth, enforcing boundaries, and refusing to accept disrespect, you teach others that you are someone who demands and deserves to be treated with kindness, dignity, and respect. One of the most important lessons in life is realizing that your value is not determined by how others treat you, what they say about you, or the negativity they direct toward you. Many people allow external opinions and mistreatment to shape their self-perception, believing that if someone disrespects them, criticizes them, or belittles them, it must mean they are not good enough. However, the truth is that your self-worth is something internal, something that comes from within, and cannot be dictated by the negativity of others. Negativity from others often stems from their own insecurities, biases, and personal struggles. Many times people project their frustrations onto others, using criticism, rudeness, or disrespect as a way to make themselves feel better. When someone treats you poorly, it usually says more about them than it does about you. Recognizing this helps you detach from the idea that their words or actions define your worth. Instead of internalizing their negativity, you can see it for what it really is, a reflection of their own issues, not a reflection of your value. It's also important to understand that seeking validation from others is a never-ending cycle. If you base your self-worth on how others see you, you will constantly be at the mercy of their opinions, moods, and actions. Some people will appreciate you while others will criticize you, and if you let their negativity dictate your self-image, your confidence will always fluctuate. True self-worth comes from within, from knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you bring to the world, regardless of how others perceive you. Additionally, negative people often try to bring others down to their level. When someone is unhappy, insecure, or bitter, they sometimes lash out at others in an attempt to make themselves feel superior. If you allow their negativity to affect you, you give them power over your emotions and self-esteem. But when you recognize that their words and actions are a reflection of their own inner turmoil, you can rise above it and refuse to let it affect how you see yourself. Another key factor in maintaining a strong sense of self-worth is practicing self-compassion. Many people are quick to believe negative things about themselves, but slow to acknowledge their own strengths, achievements, and good qualities. When faced with negativity, it's important to remind yourself of your worth and counteract the harmful messages with self-affirmation. Instead of letting someone's disrespectful comment shake your confidence, remind yourself of the truth. I am capable. I am valuable. I am worthy of respect. Repeating positive affirmations can help reinforce your self-worth and prevent external negativity from taking root in your mind. Moreover, your self-worth is not determined by how others treat you in the moment, but by how you choose to see yourself in the long run. There will always be people who fail to recognize your value, whether it's an unappreciative boss, a toxic friend, or a rude stranger. But their inability to see your worth does not mean it isn't there. Just as a diamond remains valuable, even if someone fails to recognize its beauty, your worth does not diminish just because someone fails to acknowledge it. It's also important to surround yourself with people who uplift and respect you. While you cannot control how everyone treats you, you can choose the people you allow in your life. Spending time with those who appreciate and support you reinforces a healthy sense of self-worth and makes it easier to dismiss the negativity of others. On the other hand, if you keep toxic individuals in your circle, their negativity can slowly erode your confidence. Evaluating the company you keep and setting boundaries with those who drain your energy is a crucial step in maintaining a strong self-image. Another way to reinforce your self-worth is by focusing on personal growth and self-improvement. When you work on becoming the best version of yourself, whether through learning new skills, setting goals, or developing positive habits, you build confidence that is not dependent on others' approval. Achievements, no matter how big or small, remind you of your capabilities and strengths, helping you resist the impact of negativity. When you know your own potential, others' opinions lose their power over you. Furthermore, resilience plays a huge role in maintaining self-worth. Despite negativity, life will always present challenges and there will always be critics, but resilience allows you to stand strong and astounds you to stand strong in the face of it. Resilient people understand that setbacks, failures, and negative encounters do not define them. They view difficulties as opportunities to grow rather than as evidence of their inadequacy. Cultivating resilience through self-reflection, perseverance, and a positive mindset helps protect your self-worth from the negativity of others. Finally, it's crucial to remember that self-worth is an ongoing journey, not a destination. There will be moments when you feel strong and confident, and there will be times when negativity affects you more than it should. The key is to consistently remind yourself that your value is intrinsic. It does not depend on external validation or the opinions of others. The more you reinforce this belief, the more unshakable your self-worth becomes, making it easier to navigate life without letting negativity define you. At the end of the day, your self-worth is something that belongs to you alone. No amount of negativity, disrespect, or criticism from others can take away the value that you inherently possess, unless you allow it to. The way people treat you is a reflection of them, not a measure of your worth. When you stand firm in your confidence, set boundaries, and refuse to let others define you, you take back control of your self-perception and your happiness. Instead of seeking validation from the outside world, focus on building a strong, unshakable belief in yourself. Surround yourself with people who uplift you, engage in activities that nurture your growth, and remind yourself daily that you are enough just as you are. The moment you stop allowing others to dictate your self-worth is the moment you step into your true power. Stay strong, stay confident, and never forget that you define who you are, not anyone else.